Do you want to start?
Sure. So I can go ahead and introduce you both. So thank you all for joining us for this session on International Education Week for Spain. And I'm happy to announce that our panelists are Dr. Pilar Damron and Mr. Lloyd Walsh. So I'll go ahead and give you Dr. Pilar Damron's biography. So Dr. Pilar Damron is a Spain native and earned her PhD in English from Texas Tech University. Dr. Damron currently teaches Spanish and is the language coordinator at Northwest Vista College. She led the Alamo Colleges in Spain program in the summers of 2018 and 2019. And Professor Lloyd Walsh led study abroad courses to Spain for Alamo Colleges District in 2005, 2010, 13, 16, 17, and 19. He teaches photography and art appreciation and holds an MFA in studio art. Professor Walsh has developed course materials specific to Spain that emphasize a hands-on approach to art. So thank you all for joining us. This is the event for the Spain program, the Spain session for International Education Week, and we're happy that you're here.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Let me share, and thank you everybody for being here. Let me share with you guys our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, Lloyd, do you want to make a little introduction of our presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you, Alicia, and thank you, Maria, for helping us and encouraging us to do this presentation. As Alicia was saying, both Pilar and myself have done multiple study abroads with Alamo Colleges to Spain. A couple of years ago, Pilar participated in one that was a little bit different. Normally, we go to the city of Salamanca and participate in some events there that are coordinated with our sponsor in a college called Mester. And we also visit one of the oldest universities in Europe, the University of Salamanca. But I wanted to say too that we're gonna talk about the cultural differences in Spain and the United States, but we also want to give the perspective of study abroad and our students from study abroad and their experiences and sort of try and tie these two things together. So in a way, you can think of your own point of view of being a study abroad student who's coming to Spain for the first time and some things that you may understand about your own culture and how it contrasts with a different culture in Spain. You'll find many, many similarities, but there are some striking differences too. And I think that that's going to mostly be the focus of what we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we will have this presentation, and then we're gonna have time for questions and comment, and have a more interactive kind of session at I will say at the last 30 minutes. So let me start with first slide here. So first of all, some of the ideas that I'm going to be talking about today comes from our own experience, Professor Walls and me, of just visiting, living, and working in these two countries, but also from the different students that came with us in this study abroad to Spain in the past 7 years or so. So just to locate Spain in the map. So Spain is right here in the southwest part of Europe. We share border with Africa, and we are called we are the main gate for African countries to get into Europe. But more important than that is the fact that we belong to this area right here that is the Mediterranean countries. It's important because some things that I'm going to be talking about, they not only apply to Spain, but also to all these countries in this area. So the same thing it can be said about France, Italy, Greece, Turkey, and Egypt, Israel, etc. So one important, let me say this, one important, this in the introduction, I'm going to go through these differences that they're very clearly perceived as soon as you get in Spain. The first one is the concept of time, which is kind of funny, but it for an American, the time, and for American and many other cultures, time is something that is fixed. So therefore, if you're going to meet with someone, you expect that person to be punctual. Okay, so for a Spaniard, time is something more flexible. So if you're meeting someone in Spain at 5 o'clock, for example, you are gonna find yourself waiting for that person in between something between 5:10 and 5:40. Okay, and that's just the way it is. For it's something, we're not that punctual. For time is flexible. We use expressions in our language like "I'll call you later," "I'll see you later," "Let's meet tomorrow." And those expressions are just very, very broad. So I can call you, if I say I'll call you later, te llamo mañana, it could be in a week, it could be in 2 weeks, and it's something that is understood by both the speaker and the listener. And I know that those things kind of drive crazy some of my students, American students, when they were there. Um, Lloyd, you want to talk about the painting here by Dali?
This is Salvador Dali's painting called "The Persistence of Memory." And as we talk about time, this is probably, this was actually Dr. Dameron's idea to include this painting, and I thought it was a really brilliant recommendation. And I'm an art teacher. When we go to Spain, we teach our study abroad programs. Of course, Dr. Dameron teaches the language, Spanish levels 1, 2, and 3, and I teach art appreciation and photography. And Salvador Dali is a Spanish painter from the 20th century, a surrealist, and probably most people associate Dali with the surrealist movement. And in this particular painting, which is actually a very, very small painting, it's only 8 inches tall by 10 inches wide. I got to see it in person. It traveled and came to Houston. But surrealism is about the landscape of the subconscious mind. We see a still life as it presents itself in the beginning with the famous melting clocks. And as it goes back, it's sort of like going into this vacuous space of the subconscious mind, like a dreamscape. Anyway, Dali is from the region of Catalonia where Barcelona is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting the way that it was melting and stretching, like we Spaniards stretch our time when we have to meet someone.
Yes, I agree, and it's fun. It's very relaxed, very laid back.
Yeah. So the other difference that is very easy noticeable as soon as you get there, and you had the chance to talk to native people, is the language and communication. And this is something that my students kept telling me every time, that we go to Spain, is that Spaniards use a lot of non-verbal language, but I have to say not as much as Italians, that they basically talk to with their hands. We use some, but they're very we use it a lot. So for example, when we want to say mucho, a lot, we do this with our hands, moving up and down, up and down. Someone crazy, loco or loca. Something very expensive, we do this with our fingers, como caro, caro, caro. We also tend to talk to someone and we get very close to our listener. And I know that this is something also that drives my students crazy. But it's something that I would say all the Mediterranean culture, they do. We also are more direct when we want to communicate messages. So for example, when we don't like something or when we don't agree, we clearly say no me gusta or no me interesa or no, simply. And that is perceived by some Americans as a little rude. I know that this culture tend to be more, paraphrasing something instead of being that clear. So you tend to say, well, instead, why don't we rather do this or that? We are not that way. We just go straight to the point and it's no, no me gusta. And that's it. So, um, then we have this visual and physical contact. And this is something I think it's kind of funny. Let's start with the physical contact. It's again very common to the Mediterranean culture. There is a need to have physical contact with family and friends that you are interacting with. So there's no personal space. I mean, as simple as that. So you go to bars or shops or streets, people are very close to each other. And when we talk, we tend to be touching arms or touching shoulders at the same time that we're talking. And that can cause misinterpretations by other cultures, specifically, the Anglo and the American culture, because I had students that they really thought that they were engaging in this conversation, that they thought it was a little bit more than a friendship because of the touchy kind of situation, when in reality it was just a, yeah, friendship. So I remember telling me, but there was something else. I can tell there's some code there because I felt the arm, and it's not. No, we just touch because we want to call the attention of our listener, and there's nothing else. Well, together with that kind of physical contact is the visual contact. In the Mediterranean culture, it's very common to stare, just to look at people uh, from the top to the bottom. And it just doesn't mean anything. We're just admiring style, clothes, hair, makeup, anything. And I know in America that sort of staring someone is considered rude. And I do have a lot of situations in the past when, without even noticing, you just stay there looking at someone for minutes. And then that person, it happened to me here at Texas Tech. I remember the first year. And I have someone coming to me, and she was in a very, upsetting voice. Do I know you? And I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? I didn't even open my mouth. Like, what did I just didn't understand. It took me a while to understand these things. Um, so it's just part of the culture. And those are the things that you usually don't teach in a class. And the students just learn, probably, in the hardest way possible with their own experience. Um, and then the formal dress code. So Spain is well known in Europe for its fashion and style. We are obsessed with clothes and shoes and all kind of accessories, not only for special occasions, but basically for every day. So when you go to classes, when you go to supermarket, when you go anywhere, um, you like to dress up and you leave your house looking really, really nice. So in America, the dress code is a little bit more casual, more relaxed, unless it's a special occasion. You just go with your jeans and your tennis shoes, different. I have students coming. I remember first time I was teaching in this country that my students were coming in pajamas with sleepers. I was like, this is really strange, but it's just uh, different cultures. So we have two paintings here. Lloyd, you wanna talk about the paintings here of the ladies, um, the
Yeah,
window and the balcony?
the one in the middle is by Diego Velázquez, and it's two women, sort of we call this type of painting genre scenes of everyday life. And both of these paintings were probably painted within 100 years of each other. They date to the 17th and 18th century in Spain. And the second one is by Francisco de Goya. In the first one, it's just what Dr. Dameron was talking about with people watching. So you see these women opening up their balcony and they're looking out their windows. And a little bit later in the PowerPoint, Pilar is going to talk about living in Spain and apartments and the general lifestyle of the place that you grow up in. And this really is reminiscent of even life today in Spain, in the cities we visit, in Madrid, in Salamanca, where you do still have this configuration of being on a balcony and opening a window in both of these cases. Now, they have very, very different meanings in these paintings. The one on the left seems to be sort of a home with two women looking out. You can see one woman is sort of half covering her face. She's being a little shy, where the other one seems to be a little bit flirty. And the painting on the right by Goya, you can see that these women are very much on display, almost like courtesans. And you can see in the background, there's two gentlemen sort of lurking in the shadows in the background. But they're meant to be on display, and they're people watching, and they're attracting people, and and exchanging glances and so forth. Just what Pilar is talking about. And one of the reasons we're bringing art into it is not just to promote our program that we teach art, but just to show you that there is an enduring culture in Spain of time and presence of this. America is still a very, very young country. We're only 200 plus years old, where this culture in Spain has been developing for centuries and, almost a millennia, probably even longer than that. But we see these traditions still carried on today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also the idea, the dresses, and even though you were saying, Lloyd, that this is just aristocracy, the high class, the dresses are very sophisticated. But even here, you have a kind of lower class, but they still have their hair done and some matching bows. So there's this always kind of worrying about appearance, because you're gonna be seeing, not only you see people, but you're gonna be seeing also.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to this. There's other differences that they're not as clear as the ones that I just explained, but just living, visiting the country, you will see them. So the concept of the city, the downtown design. So here we have the contrast between an American city. I think it's either Houston or Dallas at the top, and the one on the bottom is Madrid, is La Puerta del Sol. So what happened in most of the American cities, usually their downtown is just for business, for work, and then you live in the suburban areas, right? So we have this, those incredible buildings and the highways. Um, in contrast, in Spain, downtown is designed not only for working, but overall, and more important, to live and enjoy the celebrations and the holidays and the festivals of the city. So in every little town, city, capital in Spain, you will find a plaza like this one here, which is the heart of the city. You have the main buildings. Here is the city hall, but then you have restaurants and shops and houses, and it's the heart of the city in terms of social activity. Okay, it's where young people hang out. It's where seniors go for walks. It's where the best shops are there. Downtown areas are usually only pedestrian, and there you have very easy access from the suburban areas using public transportation. So use trains, buses, subways. They get you to downtown in nothing, in 15, 20 minutes, depending on where you come from. Lloyd, and you want to talk about this one?
Absolutely. Well, as we tie into city life in Spain, we want to talk about one of the main features of cities in many Spanish. A feature in many Spanish cities that you'll see, which is the plaza, or what we call the town square. And you see this a lot in, there's a few in San Antonio, but you see this all over cities in Spain. And what we did is we featured 3 different plazas in the presentation. And one of the things I do want to make note of is Alicia, our host, was part of the study abroad program to Spain a number of years ago. And I wasn't on that study abroad program. I believe my colleague, Mark Hoganson, was leading that program. But one of the, yeah, and so Alicia certainly can speak to Salamanca. So, Alicia, did you go to Madrid too?
Yes, I did. Our program was actually one of the longer running study abroad programs. It was a little over a month, so we pretty much went all over Spain. And yeah, the I think the town square is definitely usually you see downtown is usually just you would think that it's just a vibrant young life, but you have all ages and people actually congregating in downtown. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really, because historically the plaza is the main center of town. Is most of our students and myself find it to be the social center of the town. And going back again to people watching, it's all about just seeing and being seen in some respects. But things that you find in the plaza, you can see that the one in Salamanca up on top, you see how it looks golden. So sometimes Salamanca is referred to as La Dorada, or the Golden City, because the construction of the plaza and many of the buildings around it are of sandstone. And the architects from this era, or the people who were credited with building and designing it, was a family that, and the name is very difficult for me to pronounce. I'm going to try. Churriguera. And there was a type of architectural style that was reminiscent of Baroque and the Mannerist era, and it's called Churrigueresca. And again, I know I'm not pronouncing that right. It's about the best I can do.
No, it's good. Churrigueresca. Yeah, that's very
Oh,
good.
thank you. So yeah, I had one of our hosts repeat that name, and I recorded it and really tried to burn it into my memory because I was really fumbling all over it for ages. But in these in the plazas, whether it's a large city like Madrid, and you can see the print in the bottom right-hand corner, it shows a bullfight that's taking place. And not only did they have bullfights, and actually the one in Salamanca, the one above, was designed to be able to have bullfights occurring. So one of the main streets that leads into the plaza is called Calle de los Toros. And so they would, run the bulls down the street into the plaza, and then I guess pen them up, and then the toreadores would come out. But this was a long time ago. I don't know when the most recent bullfights occurred in either Plaza Mayor in Madrid or in Salamanca. But the design of it is also, in the case of Salamanca, used to house like City Hall. And so if you think of City Hall in San Antonio, it's close to Plaza de Armas, which is more of a military function. But they also would have military parades happening in these plazas. And these plazas are really very, very large. The Plaza Mayor in Madrid is larger than the Plaza Mayor in Salamanca, but not by much. Mm-hmm. And Salamanca is not a big city. It's sort of a medium-sized city. But other functions, there were community gatherings, marketplaces, bullfights. They even had trials there. And in the Plaza Mayor in Madrid, they had trials and executions, unfortunately, during the period of the Inquisition. But on a lighter side, there's really good food, cafe, bakeries. Public events like music festivals are a really big deal. It seems like every week they're tearing down scaffolding and putting up a new arrangement to have live music. I think one year I was there, Shakira played in Plaza Mayor in Madrid. And what else? Oh, lots of buskers, what we call people who hang out downtown and are performers, and they're looking for money. So they're entertainers. So sometimes you see people like in Times Square, they're dressed as popular cartoon characters. There was like people dressed like the Simpsons one year, and they're going around like just asking for money. Just kind of fun and entertaining, looking for photo opportunities. They had one guy who was sort of famous in Madrid for a while in the Plaza Mayor. He was Spider-Man, but he was a very large Spider-Man, and he really played off that. So he would wear his little costume, but his belly would be sticking out, and he would go around and put his arm around you and try to get your friends to take a picture, and then ask you for a little bit of money. But on the other side, on the left, is a much smaller plaza, but still very central to the city and still plays the function, even in small towns. This is a little town that we visit in the mountains that are close to Salamanca. It's a little town called La Alberca up in the Sierra de Francia. And very, very small place, marketplace, still functioning. And you come into this place and there's people have stands where they're selling some of the local desserts and local foods. And then also you can see in the background in the left, tables and chairs set up for the cafes that are that make up the buildings that form and surround the plaza. In the center of the plaza, you can see there's a crucifix in the center on this column and steps. And so we bring our students there, and it's a really beautiful city up in the mountains. And I think during the winter it becomes a ski resort.
Yes. All right. So the next one is housing, and this is also a very a very important difference, cultural difference. So the most common type of housing in Spain is apartments. In Spain, where cities are very, very old, land to build is very expensive. Therefore, it's just uncommon to own a house with a backyard. I actually don't know anyone that owns a house like we have here with front yard and backyard. So we all live in apartments. Most of the time, that apartment will be the only home that you will have in your lifetime. So you usually live with your parents, and then when you get married, you move to this new apartment, and that's it. That's your apartment for life. Um, so unlike in America, where just moving is, you know, daily life. Everybody moves, even in the same city, from one neighborhood to another one. So you in Spain, you will know your neighbors very, very well after that many years living in the same place, and um, that creates an incredibly strong sense of community where everybody knows everybody and everybody cares for everybody. And I want to show you a video. Let me see if I can play. Give me 1 minute. I'm gonna stop this. Um, let me share a video with you guys about this. Is during the first month of the pandemic, where Spain had one of the most severe restrictions in Europe. People had to quarantine for, I think, a month and a week, with only one member going out for grocery shopping. It was a very, very hard time. So they start this movement in Spain that at 8 p.m. everybody gathered together in balconies, windows on the top of the building to give a huge applause, a huge ovation to all the healthcare people that they were dealing with the crisis. At the time, we didn't even know, anything about the virus. So um, let me share with you this video. Um,
Pilar, the sound's not coming through.
it's not coming?
No,
No?
the sound isn't there.
Okay, let me see. Let me see.
It looks like before screen sharing, if you could select the box that says allow,
Yes.
like share audio.
Is it better now? Do you guys have the chance to hear a little bit? No?
We heard a bit, yes.
Yes, it came through. You could hear it's everybody's applauding the healthcare workers.
Yeah. So they were with the applaud, not only they were honoring these people, but also they were connecting again with the neighbors, because it's so important to, at the time that we didn't know what's going on, at the time having the, this connection with your neighbors from all your life. And not only that, but you have a chance, if someone didn't come to applaud that day at 8 p.m. So you saw that, someone's balcony was not open and this neighbor was not there. So you immediately kind of call that person or have someone calling that person to see that everybody was okay. So somehow this pandemic brought, in the positive way, us together as never before. All right. So I mentioned this before, the personal space. There's no personal space. I mean, there's just a lot of people together. And this is also one of the things that I know is for my husband is the worst, the worst cultural difference, because you always gonna get bumped by someone in the street or in a restaurant or in a, this is like a gather of young people, and there's nothing like I'm sorry or excuse me, because we don't consider that like rude. It's just the way it is. We're very close to each other because there are a lot of people. Um, but once that you get used to, it's fine and it doesn't bother you anymore. But it's something that strikes you at first. Also, this family and friends, the collectivism versus individualism. So this is also very, very typical of the Mediterranean culture. The idea of being part of something bigger than yourself. So in America, it's kind of common to see people alone by himself or herself studying or having a coffee or eating lunch. That is very rare in Spain. You will always see groups of Spaniards together, most of the time, even different ages, grandparents with kids, going for walks in restaurants, in bars. This idea of you are not fully living or enjoying your life unless you're sharing this life with the important people in your life, with the loved ones. And so I just had this picture, but in my house there is always someone coming for lunch, and you might not have invited that person. It's a cousin or an uncle or someone that you just it's in the neighborhood. So he or she want to say hi and stay with us. So it's always this idea of collectivism versus individualism. And Lloyd, you want to add anything to this theme?
I was very fortunate that during one of our study abroad programs, I was able to go visit a friend of mine from high school. Her family was from Spain, and they were from the northwest region called Galicia. And I was invited out to a small town called Pontevedra, and was able to visit her aunts, her father, and just as Pilar says, it's just, it's a collective of family with friends always coming over. And I felt so welcome into their household. And of course, as an American, I was unsure of my role and what I needed to do. So I was, offering to wash dishes, and they're like, oh, just sit down, relax, and enjoy. And I had this just absolutely fantastic meal. But
Mhm.
really, it is, you're part of a community, and I made friends for life. I still stay in contact with some of the people that I met during that time, and had an
Yes.
absolutely wonderful visit. And they took me and showed me around the main city that's in that region. Um, um, I'm drawing a blank on it. The name of Santiago de Compostela.
Mm-hmm.
Visit the beautiful pilgrim church. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what a wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And together with the idea of this, that there are always group of people, on the streets and the restaurant and bars, is also this idea of having a neighborhood tapas bar. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the tapas concept, but tapas is just a small portion of food that we have all over the country in Spain, and it's very inexpensive. It usually is homemade, and they usually display that in some areas of Spain. They display that as art because they're so nicely done. And so there's one of these tapas bar, there's always one in your neighborhood that you've been going there since you were a child. And it's always, like the center, the meeting point in your neighborhood to have the last drink or the last something to eat before you finish the day and you go home. And it's a place where you meet also, you have all your neighbors at the same time, you have a small talk with them, and somehow it feels like an extension of your own home, where people just get together to talk about the last soccer game, the last TV show, projects about the future, um, just daily life. And again, because of the situation that we have right now, many of these bars, tapas bar, they just have to close. They cannot survive anymore. So let's see if I can play this video a little bit better, because there is one tapas bar in my hometown, Seville. And let's see if I can get to them. And they close after 80 years. Okay, hold on. Let me do it this again. Let me share it with yes, right there. Here we go. Oh, oops, sorry. Sorry. So, did you guys have a chance to see? I'm not sure. Was it the sound okay this
Yes.
time? Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's like everybody's applauding. And
yeah, they close after 80 years, and he doesn't even know what's gonna happen. I went there with some of the students when we went to Seville, very, very popular place, and they just have to close. And there you have all the neighborhood giving them a huge ovation for being the meeting point of that neighborhood for so many years. And let me let me share with you guys these. Let's see. Okay, this is actually our study abroad, Lloyd. This is the last time we went there, went to Spain.
2019.
Mm-hmm. With our little place, chocolate con churros.
This was the Chocolateria Valor, and it's a place that's famous for their chocolate. They make it in-house. This is a place that the first time I did study abroad in Salamanca was in 2010, and I found this place completely by accident, and I made it a tradition in successive years to take students there, just sort of as a celebration, and because the chocolate is so good. But what they do is they make an accompanying churro. Now, we're probably familiar with the way they do churros in San Antonio, where it's essentially the same thing, but instead of chocolate, they sprinkle them with cinnamon and sugar. You're probably familiar with that. Probably a little bit flatter, and they're shaped, they're extruded through something, so it makes almost like a star shape if you were to cut it in half. Where the churros that they make in Spain are more elongated, and in Café Valor, they make them very, very long, and you can see them on the table there. But it's the same ingredients, but you dip it into hot chocolate. And you can see that the way they serve the chocolate is in like a coffee cup. But when I say it's chocolate that's served in a cup, when you serve it with chocolate, this chocolate is very, very thick, and they serve it hot. So you dip your churro in it, and when you take it out, it sticks to it, kind of like a Dairy Queen when they do the double dip cone and they stick it in the in the chocolate. But it doesn't freeze to it. But anyway, it's very, very good. We stressed out in 2019 because they closed the Valor down. And then I found out what they were doing was moving it to a larger location closer to the Plaza Mayor. And it was a countdown because they said, well, we're going to open on, I think, June 14th. Problem was we're leaving June 15th. And so we were sort of in a panic to make sure that they were going to open in time, because I really wanted the students to experience this. So luckily, we were one of the first customers to come into the new location of Café Valor, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was a new location, bigger location, Yeah, they really piled it on, as you can see, with the plates of churros, and everybody was happy.
Yeah. I guess they were not expecting the chocolate to be that thick,
Yeah,
because yeah, the
yeah,
girl's face is like
they didn't want to stop eating. But I included the painting on the right, and the painting on the right is painted around the same time as Goya painting, probably around the 18th century. And you can see that there's chocolate in there, but also these biscuits that are sort of reminiscent of the churros.
yeah.
And also in the background, you see the copper pot, and that's something they would heat the chocolate in. So
Mhm.
you can see again, an enduring reference of culture for centuries. That
Mhm.
they did it back then, and they're still doing it in some form, but with a modern take on it.
Mhm. Yeah. And we have also the celebration and holidays. I'm going to move a little bit faster, because I think we're kind of running out of time and would like to have questions and comments. So just to show you, these are, I guess, the most famous holidays celebrations that we have. This is the running of the bulls. In Spanish, it's called San Fermín, and then it's just, it's go back to, I think it was the 13th century. um, right now it's our more international holidays in the north of Spain, in a place called Pamplona. This is La Tomatina, which is in Valencia. And this one is a more recent holiday. It started during the dictatorship that we have with the Franco, the General Franco. And it was a fight between two families. That one was in defense of the dictator and the other one was against it. And they started throwing them vegetables. I think it was not only tomato, but any kind of vegetable. And then it ended up just being something that they did for a long time, because Franco was for more than 50 years in Spain. Anyway, it's just, and now it became this. I think it's a week of celebration. Now, the tomatoes they use, they're not to eat. They're just bad quality tomatoes that they bring from other regions, and they just have it for this crazy kind of party. And then the last thing we're gonna show is our program that we have, our study abroad program in Spain. And Loy, I'm gonna let you lead here. You want?
We have a video that we're going to show. It's actually from the Study Abroad office, where
Got it.
Alicia and Maria are from. But before we jump to that, well, let's show the video, and then we'll come back to the presentation. I'll talk
Yeah,
about the
let's do
pictures
that.
better there. And Alicia might want to add some more things about Study Abroad if there's some things that we left out.
Let me
And this features our students from 2019 in this video. There's 3 of our students who are featured in here. And it's a very short video. It's only a minute and a half.
And if you can hear, let me know. I think I did.
Yes, it's coming.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Alicia Ramirez, and I studied abroad in Spain 5 years ago in 2014. I chose Spain to study abroad because I always wanted to improve my Spanish and to really get the chance to immerse myself in a new culture.
Something that I really like about the Spain program is that they're gonna give you like a free weekend where you can go out and explore by yourself.
Staying with the host family was really unique. It was something I've never done before, and it was amazing because I had the experience of living with people from Spain, being able to interact with them. It was really good.
The study abroad experience was affordable with the scholarship I received. I received the Alamo Colleges International Education Scholarship, which covered almost half of my expenses. And I also qualified to Summer Momentum program, which covered for my classes as well.
I would highly encourage everybody to study abroad because it provides students a great opportunity to get valuable skills that you can put on your resume, such as leadership skills, communication, and then most of all is confidence.
All right.
Okay. Can you show that last slide again?
Yes.
Very good. So what I wanted to say is that this is from our program in 2019, and I think every one of these pictures is in Salamanca, although we went to other towns. But in the upper left-hand corner are the students enjoying what is called the farewell dinner. That's part of the program. And in this case, it was a place that served paella. So that was one of the things that the students experienced, was all the different types of food. They stayed with, as Alicia mentioned, and some of the other students mentioned in the video, people stayed with host families. So 2 or 3 students would go and stay in an apartment of somebody who lived in Salamanca, a host family. And this is their profession. Most of them are retired. And this is an additional way that they can get income. So you stay in their apartments, they feed you, give you a place to stay, 3 meals usually. And the meals are very different than what we're used to. Breakfast is very small, lunch is enormous, and then dinner is late and also a little bit smaller. So it took a little bit of adjustments, but I think some of the students found that they, once they got used to it, that they really did enjoy it. So lots of home cooked meals, traditional meals. And then the picture to the right of that is in front of one of the Baroque buildings as we were looking at Casa de las Conchas. And the taller gentleman standing up is one of our hosts, that's Enrique. And I'm not going to say too much more other than it was sort of interesting because we look at our perspective from coming to the United States and then going to Spain and visiting and experiencing the cultural differences. Well, Enrique and I stayed friends over the years, and this is about the 3rd time that he's been one of our hosts and tutors and tour guides in Salamanca and Madrid. But he sent me an email saying like, hey, I'm gonna come to the United States and I'm gonna go from the East Coast along and go visit New Orleans, but I want to come to San Antonio. And I was like, oh, sure, come stay with me. So I had the experience of doing the reverse, hosting him and trying to decide, well, where do I want to take him? Where is he going to, where can I get him to be immersed in our culture? So I figured the first thing is he had to have Tex-Mex food, which he absolutely loved. And then he started noticing a lot of the Spanish influences in our city. And I really learned a lot from him. And I hope I certainly left him a good impression of San Antonio. He told me later that San Antonio and New Orleans was the best part of his visit.
All right, so let me stop sharing here, and now we can just open the session for questions or comments or anything that you guys want to share with us.
So it looks like the first question we have here is Plaza Mayor bigger than Plaza del Zócalo in Mexico City?
I'll address it from my perspective. I don't know. And I could have told you this. Pilar, have you been to Mexico City?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, no.
I haven't either. And I went there. I played in a band, and we did a tour in Mexico City. And visiting the Zócalo was part of our itinerary. And unfortunately, my bandmates were they weren't. The day we were supposed to go, they were sort of incapacitated, and we didn't make it down there. And I was very mad at them. So I don't know. I wish I could answer that question.
No, the Zócalo, the Plaza del Zócalo, it's bigger. It's bigger.
It is?
Also,
Okay.
yeah, also because the idea I have in Plaza Mayor in Madrid, there's so many tables and chairs because of the restaurants. So that's also space that you don't see. The Plaza del Zócalo, it's just more empty in the sense of the visually. But I think it's bigger, the one in Mexico.
Okay.
We don't have a question coming in right now, but if you do have a question, definitely you can turn on your video and unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat. But I do have a few comments. Well, we don't have any questions right now, but I do definitely want to talk about the physical contact, because I think that is such a big thing to get over when you're in Spain or any of the Mediterranean countries. Because that many people think culture shock is, oh, I don't know the language, that's what's gonna get me. But the physical contact is so crucial, I think, when you're there, because I know us, when we went on our study abroad program, we were at the grocery store and you kind of just definitely feel people closing in on you even more so than when you're outside. And standing in line at the grocery store, you feel people like pressed up almost against you, it feels. And I think that it's so interesting that those kind of differences. And also,
Yeah.
I agree as also with the straightforwardness of Europeans in general.
I know I got in trouble when I used to answer the questions like that, like no, you know, and especially as a teacher, or that's wrong, está mal. I remember the evaluations I get from my students the very first year was just absolutely awful.
I I also have an example with that in Greece. I had asked somebody, the hotel worker, do you have the Wi-Fi password? And they said, of course I do. I work here. And I think we're so used to beating around the bush for it to be nice.
Yes.
I see Sabra Booth, who's actually one of our colleagues and has taught a number of study abroads in Japan, has a question about visiting Barcelona and Gaudi's cathedral, as well as the best place to see Goya's art. You know, one of the unfortunate things with the pandemic is we had a program that was going this past summer. It would have been our 2020 program, and Barcelona was included for the first time in a number of years. So unfortunately, we didn't get to go. We went with the program to Barcelona. We stayed there for about 3 or 4 days. And La Sagrada Familia, is that, am I saying that right?
La Sagrada Familia.
Yeah, it was not complete. And I don't think it's projected to be complete for at least another, 4 or 5, maybe even more years than that. I'm sure the pandemic slowed everything down. And as far
And
as
also
go ahead.
On my bucket list.
Mine too.
yeah, also the money that comes from it has to have funds from the local government, Barcelona, and right now it's what it's happening with the pandemic. They don't have money to put it in culture right now. This is not happening.
And as far as Goya, there are many Goyas in the Prado, which is just a world-class museum in Europe, in Madrid. And the other place I saw a lot of Goyas was in the Louvre in Paris. So really the Louvre and El Prado are probably just, the top 2 world museums.
Well, his prints are so amazing.
Oh, they're beautiful. And at the McNay, the McNay Art Museum in San Antonio, in their print collection, they have 2 volumes of just about, I think they're complete volumes of Goya's prints.
I've taken fac students there, and we saw them.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. The one about the dreams and the one about the horrors of wars.
Yeah, and I just felt like Goya was one of the first artists to like really address social injustice, yeah.
And Norma has a question about how many cities do we visit in the program? Pilar, would you like to take that?
Yes. So last time we went there, we were in Madrid. We were staying in Salamanca, and then we have little trips in Salamanca. We visited Avila, which is close. We also visited Segovia, that is also close, and the La Barca, and what else? I think that's it, right?
Yeah, and you went on a program the year before where you were able to go to Valencia, and what were the other towns that you went around there? And also,
yes, it was kind of a very unique program that time because we actually went to the Canary Islands also. So we, and I've never been in my life in the Canary Islands, so it was amazing to be there. But we went to Seville, that's where I'm from, the very south. And then we also went to Granada and to Cadiz, which are those 2 cities also in the south of Spain. And then we took the plane and crossed to the islands, the Canary Islands.
I said Valencia, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. It's also the south, so that's okay.
But pretty much every study abroad program, it kind of is different. Every program kind of has its own unique audience, and everybody chooses a different location for their free weekend. So it all depends.
Yeah, some students were able to travel on their own, and the popular destination was either go to Barcelona or go into Portugal and go to Lisbon.
But
Alicia,
we have,
did
yeah,
you go to, did you go to Lisbon or did you go to Barcelona?
Yes, we did go to I feel like we had multiple free weekends. I can't
Oh,
remember, but I do remember for sure we went to Lisbon, Portugal, and I do remember we went to Bilbao, which is in the north of
oh,
Spain, and then we also went to Valencia.
wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of places.
Pilar, do you see the question by John? I think you're way more qualified to answer that.
Yeah, I was reading and I just thought it's a very interesting question. I actually talk about that with my husband. My husband is
Great
from
question.
here, from the States. I do believe, and this is my opinion, after being in Lubbock for 5 years, right? I think that there is a huge cultural difference also in Spain, but I have to say it's not as much noticeable as in here. Here, it's amazing the mentality of people living in big urban places, in comparison with little towns like Lubbock. Um, in Spain, there's not that big difference. There's not, I mean, there's still, some ideas a little bit more conservative in a way, but nothing like what I experience here. And maybe it's because it's also Texas. Maybe Texas is different when we talk about some rural place in Texas. Maybe it's not the same as a rural place in some other places that I don't know. But what I found out is that yes, definitely here the difference is much uh, drastic that in Spain.
Oh, yeah. I have not gone to the Basque Country, but it's definitely where I want to go. Pilar, have you been?
Yeah, and Bilbao is part of it. Yes, I've been in San Sebastian, which is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful cities in Spain, and tapas are very famous over there. Um, but it used to be a difficult place to go, um, because oh, there's because
That's my dog. Sorry.
it used to be let's say a conflicted place to go because of the terrorist group that we had. We don't have it anymore. It's been um, without being active for many years right now. But yeah, I really recommend the difference between the north and the south is amazing, and even the capital Madrid and the north, they're like different countries. But I guess this is also the case for any other country, the difference between the geographical difference of the city. um, but yeah, I mean, when we have free time, students can get in public transportation, train, and Alicia, you know that the trains work absolutely wonderful in Spain. You can go north, east, west, south, very very economically. Like, it's not very expensive to visit all these places.
Yes, it kind of looks like we've got a few questions about the study abroad program.
Yeah, Alicia, I
So,
think let's. I'll
sure.
let you answer those. You're.
So we do have we don't have our 2021 programs available. So all of the study abroad programs right now for summer 2021 have been canceled due to COVID, but we are planning summer 2022 if we are allowed to do so. So, and also it says that you've completed your Spanish courses. Do I still have an opportunity to go? So, yeah, if you still I always encourage students to keep on going up in your Spanish. If you've already taken like your conversational Spanish 1 and 2, you can always move to intermediate Spanish. and just keep on going on. But yes, definitely email us at dst-studyabroad@alamo.edu. And also, once we get word that summer 2022 is a go for study abroad, we'll go ahead and send out that notice to everybody. It's amazing. I would definitely recommend it. I think that's why these virtual International Education Week events are so crucial, because everybody's got that travel bug and everybody wants to go anywhere they can. And with virtual, you can go anywhere. So thank you so much for joining.
I'm sorry, Alicia. Do we have someone else, Crystal?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that you already have all the courses, all the Spanish classes, right? You need
Correct.
Spanish.
To be honest with you, I've already completed my master's degree. My first round in college, I had taken Spanish, intermediate or beginning Spanish and intermediate courses both. So I didn't know some colleges or universities link those to the study abroad programs. So I didn't know, and that was the reason for my question. If I've already completed all of my Spanish and or my degree, I do work for Alamo Colleges. So I don't know if that's an opportunity or if I need to go back to a university to enroll in something different, or if it's just different in each university.
Yes, it's different everywhere. So for our programs, they are faculty led, and each program has different courses that are tied to the program. So for instance, this one is Spanish courses and art. So for this one specifically, you would have to take those courses that are available to students. But if you want, you can always do a third-party study abroad, and those would be completely customized to you. So there's dozens and dozens of third-party programs. The benefit with faculty-led, of course, is traveling with Alamo Colleges students and faculty.
Right.
But we can definitely schedule an appointment and we can go over more of that with you.
Okay. And just really quick, Pilar, I'm sorry, you had mentioned that living outside of an apartment in Spain is more expensive. Is it dramatically more expensive and that's why people don't do it? Or is it because of the family get together camaraderie type thing? Does that play a big portion in it as well?
Well, first of all, the only houses that I know, they're usually old, very old houses, and they belong to some kind of administration for the government, or it belongs to a very very rich family and it passed in inheritance to other. So some of them are museums actually, that they're not even for living.
Sure.
So, if we're talking about big cities like Madrid, Barcelona, and all that, you will not find houses that you can actually rent or live in the city. You have to go to the suburban areas.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now I think at this point we can go ahead and select our raffle winner. So thank you all for staying to the end. So I'm going to click on a random person that is here, and you'll win the raffle. So Mallory Alvarez. So I'll go ahead and email you, Mallory, and I'll ask for your details.
Oh, okay. How funny. Thank you. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, no problem. So what you won was a box with universal yums, and it's a lot of international snacks in this box. And I'll go ahead and email you with your mailing information.
Oh, okay. And a side note, Mr. Lloyd Walsh, I was one of your students when you taught art appreciation.
Your name looked very familiar.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Mallory? And congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's long time no see.
It's been a while.
Now I'm working at Palo Alto. I'm the I got my master's in instructional technology, so I do the Canvas support with the Teaching Learning Center. Yeah.
Hey, that's fantastic. It's great to see you.
Yeah. Thanks. It's great to see you. Learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
In the Zoom, I don't remember anything from, I'm just joking.
I don't either. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
And
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.